Happy day, YouTube. Sexism is alive and well. It's gotten better, but it's alive and well. And I do still call myself a feminist, though I'm not as hardcore as I used to be. I was reminded today of experiences that I've had with sexual harassment and sexism in the workplace, and I thought I would share my experiences. I've been sexually harassed 3 times at jobs. The first time I was 16 and I was working in a cafe, and I had just started working there. I got the job through a friend of a friend, and I was told I had to be pretty to work there. And so he was like, make sure you wear makeup and make sure you dress really provocative and pretty. And I didn't think anything of it at the time. I was like, all right, I'm a pretty girl, I can do this. Not a big deal. I'd be making decent money compared to where I was working at the time. And so I'm in training. I think it was like the second day of training that this actually happened. And I'm carrying out trays, or I go to grab trays to carry them out, and I get slapped on the butt. Okay, so the first time this happened, I was kind of confused. I was more confused than anything. I was like, how does he think that's okay? And then I noticed he was doing it to all the other girls too. It's like and none of them seemed to have any issue with getting slapped on the ass every time they grabbed their trays and brought them out. He did it to me once, and I just kind of like shrugged it off. I was kind of confused more than anything. And then the second time that he did it, I said, "Don't do that. I'm sorry. I'm just not okay with that." And he didn't say anything. And then he did it again. The third time he did it, I quit. I was like, you know what? If that's like in the job description, I'm not gonna work here. I'm not here to get slapped on the ass every time I carry a tray out. And so I didn't work there very long. They wanted, and I don't know what it was, but all the other women that worked there had no issue with getting slapped on the ass every time they brought trays out. Freaking weird. And then, okay, so I was working at an IHOP and waiting tables again. And as a courtesy thing, the waitresses would bring drinks to the cooks, which is cool and fine. Normally, the cooks are really nice. We like to keep the cooks happy because they make our orders quick and they don't mess them up. But there was one night where we were super busy. And one of the cooks in particular, he was just being a real jerk. And he was, instead of like, hey, could you get me a Coke, or a drink, or blah, 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 it was Coke. It was like our job to get him Cokes, and he was being just such a dick to another waitress, and he kept doing it to me, and finally I was just like, look, it's not our responsibility to get your drinks. We do it because we're being nice. And then he was like purposely messing up my orders because I was basically calling him out on being a dick. It was like, we do this to be nice, not because we have to. And so he's like purposely messing up my orders now. And finally I go to complain to the manager, and the manager, and I hate to say this, but he was of Middle Eastern descent, and I'm complaining to him, and he puts his arm around me and squeezes me really tight. He goes, "Oh, baby." And he's like rubbing my arm, and I was just like I was like pushing him away. I was just like, dude, I'm not your freaking baby. It's like, I'm going to complain to you as an employee, and you're calling me baby and touching me. It's like, it was completely inappropriate. I ended up quitting that night. 4 other ladies, in fact, pretty much every woman that was working there that night quit because of the disrespect that they were getting from the males. And okay, so that was two. And then the third experience, which was the worst, when I was in college, and I was cleaning houses, and I was working for this neurologist, and I typically had someone coming with me. And but this particular time she was sick, and so I was there alone. And we had been cleaning his house for almost a year. And that particular time, after I was done cleaning, I went to go get my money. And and all of a sudden I just felt this weird vibe. And he like closes the door and corners me and drops his pants. No warning, just drops his pants. His dick is hanging out. And he solicits me for prostitution. Of course, I explained to him, I'm not a freaking prostitute. Actually, I went into a panic attack because I was scared. I mean, I was in this house, this huge house, way away from the exit, alone with this guy. I didn't know what the hell was going to happen. And I just froze. I mean, I was terrified. He's like cornering me, like his dick is flopping around, and he's just like, and I tell him no, and he's like, oh, come on, you can make a lot of money, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, I don't care, I don't want your freaking money. And so he starts to realize that I'm not going for this, and he pulls his pants up, and he hands me my pay for the day, and I start to go to leave, and again he drops his pants and starts to try to convince me again. And finally I make it out of there. I ended up filing a police report on that one. He's a well-known neurologist in this town. And of course nothing happened. The cops couldn't do anything. They was like, it's your word against his. But then another police officer came in and was like, just so you know, he has a record. You know, it's like, and I know I'm not alone with women who have experienced this stuff in the workplace. So that's another reason we need to continue forward with equality in this world, and feminism, and fighting for equal rights and equal protection in all forms in this, because it's crazy. It's crazy. Now, I haven't experienced anything remotely like that in a while, but I also don't work a regular job. So that was my experience with sexual harassment. And you know, people might think that those 3 experiences were no big deal, but actually at the time all 3 of them were a little traumatizing to me. They really, really were. Like, I mean, I cried my eyes out, especially with the third one. But even with the other 2, they were pretty traumatic for me. They really were. And so, yeah. I hope that you're having a beautiful day, morning, night, whatever time of day it is.